I grew up in an evil town. An impostor might help me. Content warning, child abuse, and sexual violence. We waited, holding our breaths. James stopped, checked his phone, adjusted his left earpod, and continued jogging. After he was past us, we released our breaths. I suddenly have an idea, Lucy whispered. What if we make this go viral? As in, online, I asked, and then I wondered how come this terrible secret about my sister's whereabouts never reached the internet. In this day and age, after all, anything viral could make or destroy a person, or several people, or an entire town. We're studying journalism ethics in college, and we made several social experiments with hidden cameras, Lucy went on. I could bring one to the basement. You'll be able to watch things real time from your phone or laptop. I didn't know if I had the stomach to witness my sister's suffering as it unfolded, but if it was difficult for me to watch, it was a million times more difficult for her to feel. I swallowed and nodded. Let's go to my house, Lucy, I said. We'll plan things where no one can hear us. Lucy nodded and we walked out of the plaza. We tried to keep quiet. Our eyes were inevitably drawn to two boys trying to fly a kite. Young boys, maybe 9 or 10, certainly siblings with their similar looking facial features and toothy smiles. For all we knew, they were twins. I turned away and blinked back my tears. We reached my home, we went upstairs to my room. Lucy lagged behind me saying, "It's weird. I remember entering your house a few times for school projects, but only now am I realising that all of the pictures here are of you and your family after Nina disappeared." After Nina was chosen, I corrected. I opened the door to my room, we went in. I locked the door behind us. "Don't worry," I said, dropping my voice to a whisper. I still have proof that she existed. I kept a special old shoebox under my bed. It was decorated in pink gift wrapping paper and faded stickers, collected throughout the years. Inside was a jumble of Christmas cards, love letters, Polaroid photos of me and my friends, souvenirs from trips abroad, and a photo of me and Nina, taken on our last birthday together. I couldn't bear to look at it. As soon as I found it, I gave it to Lucy, whose eyes gathered tears. "We were so little," she whispered. "Please tell me that this isn't true. I don't want it to be true." I was tempted by her disbelief. I was tempted to forget. But then I turned to my right, to the window by my bed, and the sunlight spilling its warm radiance everywhere. To the sounds of cars and people on the street, clueless or compliant people, since there was no in between. And I knew then that I had nothing to lose. I promised myself and Nina that not long after this, our town would pay. Mark my words. Night came and I stayed in front of my laptop. My bedroom door was locked. I had refused to eat dinner with my parents, saying that I had gone out with friends earlier and that I was full. I waited for Lucy's camera to connect to my network. When it did, I hit screen record and watched. Lucy's camera was clipped to her headband. People would think it was just a simple butterfly design, but it was actually a small, thumb-sized camera with built-in speakers. In other words, I could see everything she saw. Right now, she was walking down the hallway of flickering lights. Greg was with her. "So, who told you about the sacrifice?" Greg's voice was as nonchalant as my parents had been, as Melanie's and everybody else's, and I wanted to punch him in the face for it. But since I had to play dumb, I kept quiet. You know, they told every batch above ours, but since we're her age and her former playmates, they decided it was best for us to eventually discover the deal on our own. Except for us at Salome Community College, of course. "It's a long story," Lucy chuckled. What a fantastic actress, I thought. It was almost as if she didn't cry in my room a few hours ago. "I just want to take a look, Greg. I'm curious." Greg paused and took a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He handed it to her. "I don't smoke." "It's not for smoking, Lou. It's for starting small." They had reached the end of the hallway. I could see a dim staircase, by no means narrow, leading to yet another door. About 5.5 feet tall and 3 feet wide. It had a small square window, but I could see nothing inside, nothing but darkness. "What do you mean?" Lucy asked. "Just try burning her with one." He lit a cigarette and placed it in her fingers. "Trust me, the power is so addictive. All your guilt and pity will soon be gone." Lucy hesitated. And don't think of her as Nina anymore. She's no longer that. She's a sacrifice. He returned the pack of cigarettes inside his pocket and took out a ring of keys. He unlocked the door and switched on the lights. Lucy entered and gasped. I watched. I fought my hardest not to look away. The room was surprisingly well lit. There was a disgusting looking toilet bowl in one corner and an equally grimy shower beside it. Not far away was a bed with a set of handcuffs all over it. It had no quilt, no blanket or pillows. On its foot was a wooden chest, upon which was a thick leather belt and a collar. Lucy turned to the other corner of the room and I nearly jumped in surprise. On the other corner was a girl. She didn't look older than 13 or 14. She was naked. Her right ankle was chained to a heavy-looking black ball, rendering her unable to move much. She was picking on her long hair, which fell tangled over her shoulders. She squinted at the light. She was barely more than skin and bones, and her body was covered in a plethora of bruises, burns, and cuts. She sat crouched against the wall with her arms around her shoulders, covering her breasts. Her knees were tucked under her. She flinched when Greg came near her and whimpered. No, I thought, that's not Nina. That couldn't be my sister. Nina? Lucy crouched down until she was eye level to the girl. Remember me, Nina? It's Lucy, your best friend in 4th grade, remember? That was when the girl looked at her. Those eyes, wide and full of pain and fear and familiarity. I recognized those eyes anywhere. They looked just like mine, except they weren't. Greg kicked her on the side and she fell face down onto the dirty cement floor. I could see hand-shaped bruises and lash marks all over her back, legs and buttocks, and I was stifling my sobs before I knew it. Burner there, on her leg. Greg pointed to a small patch of his skin that wasn't blemished. Although us guys really liked burning her, he burst into laughter. I could hear Lucy breathing heavily. No, I can't. Her sister was here last night, so I've heard. Did she tell you about the deal? Nina turned her head to them in one painfully slow movement. Dina? Greg slapped her face. I had my hands pressed to my mouth, trying not to scream. If I burn her, would you stop asking stupid questions? Snapped Lucy. Go ahead, prove to us that you're not the plant. I'm not. I could see Lucy's hands, one placed on Nina's leg, the other still holding the cigarette. Go on. It was taking forever. I held my breath, whispering even though I knew there was no way Lucy could hear me. Don't do it. Don't be one of them. It's gotten cold, Lucy finally said, dropping the cigarette on the floor. I'll need another one. She was looking at Greg, who went on to take another cigarette from the pack. At that very moment, the camera view went very blurry, and then I could see Lucy standing in front of Greg, and my sister almost blocking them. Mission accomplished. Lucy had placed the hidden camera, the butterfly design, near the corner of the room, far enough to be inconspicuous, near enough to capture everything. I can't take this, Greg, Lucy said. Give me some time, okay? Surely Dina has told you about the impostor. Prove to us that you're not in cahoots with them. My mom told me about the impostor right after she told me about the deal. I didn't want to believe it at first, but that's the reason she gave for her and Dad's divorce. Not surprising, a lot of dads come here as well as angry moms. But then they go home and all is well again. It wasn't for my parents, muttered Lucy. I get it though, I can take it out on Nina some other time. She's a sacrifice, no need to use her name anymore. Whatever, I'm going. Greg didn't follow her. I wish I didn't see everything that happened next. James was the last. He came an hour after our favourite baker's turn, which came after that of my father's old barber back when he had enough hair to cut. Before him were a prominent businessman and 2 men wearing uniforms of a big shipping company. They unlocked my sister from her ankle chain, threw her on the bed, did things I wanted to kill and slowly torture them for. My sister didn't even struggle, not once. She cried, she whimpered helplessly, but she knew that she couldn't fight back. She didn't even try. She could have been anyone. We could have been her. She could have been me. My shirt was soaked in tears. The door opened and James entered with a sadistic smile as he slapped a thick belt against his palm. Greg closed the door behind him. Enjoy, he said partingly. From the camera in the corner, I watched as James dropped the belt to the floor. Then, slowly, he walked towards the bed where my sister still lay chained, bloodied and sobbing. Soon he was standing in front of her. I could not see his face, just his silhouette. I wondered if I should make this go viral or simply burn everyone in town in one go, children included. But that would make me just like them, if I decided to punish the innocent for the guilty. There had to be a way to kill the adults, slowly and violently, without hurting anybody who had never hurt Nina. I continued watching James. He didn't unzip his pants, didn't strike Nina across the face. Instead, he unchained her. His hand gently brushed her cheek. He sat at the foot of her bed, still fully clothed, and Nina wrapped her arms around him, sobbing even harder. I'm sorry I couldn't sneak a piece of candy or some biscuits to you. They're much stricter with the inspections now. James, my sister's voice was muffled. You don't have to do this. Do what? Be kind to me. Nina's voice had a hint of strength, something I never expected to hear from her given her state. Then again, she had always had a quiet strength in her, even when we were little. James, the more you're kind to me, the more it hurts. The more it hurts when others hurt me. Nina, we've talked about this before. It's no fault but theirs. Nina kept sobbing. It's not your fault, okay? None of this is. As I've said, the more you blame yourself, the easier they get away with it. And look how far you've come. Every time you're kind to yourself, rain starts pouring hard again. Thunder began to rumble, not far away. It's not just me, we're a tandem. The gods aren't as powerful as you think, and neither is my dad. He squeezed her hands. Listen, Nina, we're almost there. Your sister knows everything. Dina? Her voice trembled. Even from far away, I could see her face light up. How did she know? Who told her? That was when I realized that James and Nina were looking directly at me. We're being watched, James muttered. He marched towards the butterfly camera. The last thing I saw and heard was his foot crushing it to the ground.